getting into game for the second time today. Verdant down 1-0. Need to win this game to keep their chances of qualifying for the EMEA main event alive. For Geekay, though, they are one Nexus explosion away from being the very first Arabian League team that we've seen at the main event.
All quiet in Room Terror for the early stages, for the level 1 at the very least between these two teams. Get to see the onset of how these two teams want to play out their early stages of the game, with the junglers at the very least starting in their blue side quadrants. It looks like an Olaf level 1 is afoot, though, Middlecott. An Olaf level 1, very, very scary. The first undertow does go wide and is able to walk it out, but I don't think it stops here if you're GK.
Don't go back in that bush. Don't go back in that bush. And you have to be very careful on the Camille in these early stages because you go flashless, right? You take the ignite for a little bit more pressure, but that's not particularly useful if you get level 1. It looks like GK actually going for a scout out and a counter jungle on this red buff. Nille will be able to spot it out, but he's not going to be stupid. He's not going to overextend. Go right back to top lane. Okay.
So they were spotted going in. Giyu's not got sweeper and was spotted on an early ward placed by, I believe, Taxa on the Raptor ramp. But nevertheless, the red buff takeaway has come through. Taxa immediately shifts into the bot side of Giyu and Ko's jungle. Taxa, already on these Raptors, he's maybe looking for 2 camp steal away, and then it makes it a little more difficult for the Vi in terms of pathing going back and forth. Early hook down on that bot side. Decap takes a little bit of HP, but Kevo takes it right back.
And I think that there is a sort of clear reason that maybe GK were trying to instigate this play around the top side so that you can apply a bit more pressure to the Olaf, but because Verdant were able to spot it out, Viking is just going to have to kind of sheepishly run back down to his bottom side jungle, and yes, he's going to be able to collect his red buff, but this Olaf is not going to be snowballed at least for the next minute or so.
Worth noting that GK did steal away 2 camps versus the 1 that Taxa was able to steal, so, just a small advantage there for Viking in the specific jungle matchup is going to be having a 3 buff start to his clear, and I guess to delay the second red buff a little bit here. And, we saw a little bit of trading down on that bot side. It's worth saying that for a Seraphine, she does require skills in her abilities to start generating push. Normally you're looking at level 5 for 3 points in Q, and then you're able to put down double high note and have a good time.
Is she able to gain access to those new skills as she levels up, Rudy?
Yeah, unique to Seraphine, actually. Leveling up gives her access to new skills. Sorry, we're just inside joking.
Inside joking on broadcast. That's very inappropriate. Taxa might be doing something, well, pretty disgusting to Sartorius in just a moment. The Olaf has been able to get a decent wave shove in. Places the ward, recognizes that a gank could come, but the gank, unfortunately, is already here. Flash and Ghost to get away.
Yeah, but look at the wave state for Sartorius. He has to use this Ghost Timer to really try and force that wave under the turret, because if Tax is able to just even stay close by, this is going to be really difficult for the Olaf to stay in this top side. Nyla with teleport and ignite is going to have that extra onus of kill threats. Doesn't have the flash to get to safety, but will have the ignite to try and chop down on that Olaf healing and make sure that that kill presence exists.
And so a load of that sort of pressure topside has been facilitated by Giyu. Once again, he is on a melee matchup into a ranged mid laner, but he is doing absolutely fine on the Sylas with trades like that.
Yeah, shockingly, Sylas, happy to trade versus an Azir. This is one of those champions that has a really weird, random ability to trade at level 3, level 4. You have that notion of range versus melee is an advantage for the Azir. But Sylas, a little bit like how I think that Fizz used to be way back when, you have really powerful trades, sort of on level 3, level 4 window. If you land all of your spells, yes, you take a little bit of exit damage, but because of how front-loaded your kit is, you're actually able to do a good enough chunk to get away with a beneficial trade, even despite the exit damage.
And something that I have been noticing over these first 5 minutes is that in terms of support roams, it's actually been a lot more of Clyde doing that than Decap, at least through these first few minutes.
And that's to be expected a little bit as well. It is, Renata versus Nautilus, the archetype of roams you would heavily favour Clyde and favour Nautilus in that position. Not to say that Renata Roam can't be impactful if you're at the very least matching the Nautilus. That's obviously going to be a really big win as well. But you're quite right. Cly on this Nautilus is going to feel a little more emboldened to make some proactive moves on the Rift. A lot more telegraphed how this Nautilus is going to find advantages when he's looking for those roams. But the timing for Geekay once again on this dragon just astounds me. Bot lane is based, and the second they start heading, out of the fountain, Geekay's there. This isn't just coincidence. This happens every single time we see Geekay play. It's great timing from Viking, great communication from Geekay to say, you're going to have a window where their bot lane is based. If you want to take a Drake, now's your window. Okay, Viking, I will come to that bot side, I'll clear one camp, and I'll be ready to go when that wave is gone.
It's just a smart play to make, and once again, we are being treated to a bit more of a passive early game, and if this leads into the sort of match that we had last game, I have to feel like that is going to favour Verdant.
I mean, yeah, you're quite right. I think that looking at the compositions as we get later into the game, an Azir and a Camille, two champions that scale exceptionally well. The Seraphine as well. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. This champion scales extraordinarily well. Not necessarily with damage in its own right, but the way that you can use her W actually is maybe the most powerful part of the Seraphine kit as we get later into the game. A potentially team-wide redemption just on a 15-second cooldown is a little bit unbalanced.
I like that. Tux is thinking about ganking top lane, but as soon as he sees Viking there, he thinks, actually, level 6 Olaf with the Sejuani passive, probably not a great thing to fight, but they're going to try and fight you regardless, once again, luring into Verdant's jungle, trying to take away this red buff.
Take away a little more as well. Sartorius crashed a massive wave onto that top side. He's got a lot of time to make presence felt. Tax is back.
Oh, he's not going to get stunned. He's going to flash away back under his tower, and E-roll with the shuffle. The roam from Cly will help his mid laner get first blood. I think he might get a second here. Sartorius escaping with that shield, but straight into the waiting legs of Nilla.
Oh, what did you say earlier, Middlecock? Cly has been more proficient at roaming in this game. Makes his impact felt in the most measurable way possible on that top side. Halts the top side of Geekay in their tracks and keeps Taxa alive. He should have died there. I'm so surprised that he gets out to safety. They're holding his Q for so long, but he's able to bait in the Geekay top side for just long enough and then get 2 kills, one on either solo laner. Absolutely gorgeous collapse from the Verdant.
Yeah, but the pace is not slowing down for Geekay, right? They go, that play didn't work. Well, it's 8 minutes. We're going to be starting up the Rift Herald, and once again, Verdant electing not to contest.
They had to take some resets, spend that gold, and the fact that Viking, got the fast reset, that's what we call those, it is quite beneficial. He just burns flash here.
You're going to have to flash, yeah, just flash him.
Nothing too surprising. Still has cleanse, so the Encore at the very least is going to have a little less effect should it come through and connect. But Geekay so far, not quite the start we'd seen in game 1.
And I tell you what, the Varus is not a Xayah. That's how champions work. And when you are down that flash, you don't have access to really other defensive tools. And yeah, that cleanse is going to be good. But I feel like Cly and Kevo might have a little bit too much CC between them for that to actually work out for Rin in a 1v2.
I will say, you don't cleanse any of Nautilus's CC. That's the issue with taking cleanse versus Nautilus. It feels atrocious to take cleanse versus his champion because you can cleanse his auto attack, yeah, but then you still get knocked up, you still get hooked. All of these things that are just uncleansable make your life absolutely miserable, but you still feel obligated to take it because you're playing against the Seraphine. It's one of these really difficult positions to find yourself in as we see Verdant setting up 3-man dive on this top side. E-rolls here can swoop over the wall quite quickly. But Sartorius has done a good enough job. He just holds the wave outside the turret, and without seeing Taxa step into the lane to hold the next wave, means that Verdant, they don't have enough time. They don't want to sacrifice all of this mid wave off of E-roll to make that fight on the top side work. So it's a proactive move from Verdant, but one that yields nothing.
And it's a sort of similar move from Sartorius that we saw from Kevo and Cly in the last game, right? When there was an attempt at a dive and they're out going, actually, we're going to keep the wave outside of turret range, so it isn't going to crash and it isn't going to put us in a bad position. But 10 minutes in, we've had a little bit of a reversal from where we were last game. Still not massive amounts of action, but this time Verdant starting to edge ahead.
And heading into the mid-game, those contests that we've heard talked about on the analyst desk, with Verdant being potentially at an advantageous position, it means that GK are going to have to struggle. They're going to have to try a lot harder to get good teamfight setups to make those teamfights go their way. And of course, early on, we've highlighted that we know that the GK squad is going to do a lot of damage, but they're going in bot.
Oh my word, yeah, it's just a million forms of CC dropped on Rin's head, but the Varus somehow not dead. He's going to be able to get through the entire play! What the heck, Rin? You're an absolute monster of an AD carry. Cavo just about dodging away from Viking, but he's going to fall down. How on earth is Rin still alive?
It's going to take a wiser man than I to explain that one. There has to have been misexecution from Verdant. I look at the tools that they have, and I look at the HP bar of a Varus. Those two things are not equal. There was missed skill shots there somewhere from Verdant. Something went wrong, and Rin was able to survive. Yes, they ended up taking him down, but the bailout came through, and he was actually able to live.
Yeah, and this is what they did against Aegis in their matches against them. Rin and Decap have shown the ability to 2v2 some really decent ERL bot lanes. They did it against a representative from the LFL. Now they're doing it against the boys from the NLC.
And I think that Rin's itemization is actually really smart here, heading in for this lethal tempo route. But it gives him access to the Immortal Shield Bow, that extra layering of shielding that is going to keep him safer during these dives, during the engagement from Nyla Taxacly, the overlay of Azir damage, of Seraphine ult as well.
He is. Getting the Evercross stun, getting the hook back, and he's pushed under tower by Ero. Could have a trade of ultimates there, but it's due. He ends up on the worst end of things, and hey, with Dragon on the board, this could be very impactful.
Yeah, neither mid laner has flash nor ulti. And like you said, the higher HP bar sits on Erol. Yes, he doesn't have the Kingslayer to permanently sustain himself, but that could very well be enough. And look at Cly's super flank.
Okay, Taxu is just going in! And Rin will not be able to escape from the Hextech ultimatum, firing out the piercing arrow, but will eventually fall down. A big shutdown for Nilla, a load of gold, and that Camille is exactly what you want. Decap opening up with a hostile takeover, but only gets it onto 2. Once again, Verdant finding an advantageous play.
We'll say that I think Kevo wasted Cleanse there. He's playing Seraphine. He didn't need to stop auto-attacking his team. But it's a win for Verdant still. They take down the AD carry, and they should be able to take this straight. The Soul may not have been the defining feature of what won the game for GK in the last one. I mean, Kevo's dead. He's going to get chased down here.
The inevitability of an Olaf for the killers. Actually, hold on, the rest of GK are fighting. You don't want to be doing that, guys!
Oh, wow.
It's a 1-for-0 in the bottom lane, but a 2-for-0 in favor of Verdant in the river, and they're going to head straight back to Drake.
Consecutive advantages found by our NLC representatives, our second seed from the Nordic region, making moves here in this second matchup. We're looking for a fight, though. Sartorius Decap, a powerful duo. There's a smite there, and Verdant, they take their Drake and they walk away.
I think Sartorius didn't have the Ragnarok, and I feel like maybe a 2v4 is possible with the ult available. Without, probably not. And we find ourselves in a really strange position because Verdant solo laners, the lanes that really weren't going well for them last time out, absolutely enabled. Ero, 2-0-2 on the Azir, a CS lead as well. He's in a much better spot.
Verdant fans are rejoicing, and like you say, solo lanes are in a great position, and the way we've seen Verdant win games is exactly akin to where we see them in this game here. Solo lanes looking strong, thriving in their 1v1s, and this game as well, a much better mid lane situation for Erol. We saw the trade that was a little bit Azir favoured just earlier on, but those CS numbers are nowhere near as scary as we saw them from game number 1.
Yeah, and Gyu hasn't really been able to have that same sort of impact. Even on the Aurelia last game, there were a couple of moments of overstepping, getting caught out, while still applying pressure, dying a little bit needlessly. Now, he's only 0-1. It's not going too badly for GK's mid laner, and the gold is still basically dead even as we are potentially going to get a fight around this Herald. I was thinking about it.
They're not going to go for this fight, though. Verdant, they're happy to sacrifice the Rift Herald for a tier 1 push down on the spot side. I know Nyla has got that Divine Sundra, but I don't think he's quite got enough in the tank to take down this turret before somebody makes their way down here. Sartorius is probably going to be able to clear out this wave. just in time.
Get close.
Ooh,
Let's just gonna go for
wrong.
it. You're just gonna get it. Fair
well.
play.
A happy trade then for Verdant. They get first brick. You know, that's the second herald that is commonly sought after less. There's a Viking nearby nearly. You do need to be a little careful here.
Yeah, you don't want to get hit by too many of those axes. Okay, dodges away from that undertone is just going to be able to
Close the
walk
stream.
away. Yeah.
Please, Nyla, stop listening to Middlecott. Clearly, you were going to get hit by those if you'd have if you'd not had that one open. So
I've got great advice. People always come to me. Skill shots, dodge 'em, mate. Easy.
Wow. Can we pay for that kind of coaching? You can't be giving that up for free.
Yeah, $350, please.
That's everyone in Twitch chat. You owe Middlecott now. You're welcome.
Making some money. Australia lanes here as Kevo and Cly joined by Rin and Decap on the bot side of the rift. Nothing too much for them to play for at the moment. Decap still going to go for an engage. Encore is opening up onto 2. The ults layered by Geekay. Rin flashing forward to desperately try and get the kill onto Kevo. He's going to be able to do it, but he's given his life to Nilla.
Importantly, though, that's a teleport burn from Nana. That advantage that we know they have from the top side is, yes, getting a kill onto the Camille, but it's giving a turret back over to Sartorius. That Olaf able to even up the turrets taken by top laners Metric. Now, Nana may well be able to take this tier 2 down. Cly is still around, but it looks like GK, they want more than just a bot lane tier 1 turret. They're going to opt for a second tier as well, and these tier 2s hold much more gold, worth 2 kills if you take down this turret.
And I don't think that Taxu's going to be able to defend this, but with E-Roll moving over...
Now you're wrong.
GK are going to back away, and yeah, I tell you what, I am wrong. GU going for a play onto now. It's going to be joined by Decap. The Camille is pretty strong right now, but shouldn't be able to win a 1v2. Surviving for a very, very long time here. Oh, tactical sweep! He's just dead! He's dead! He's dead! Nille kills him! He's on a rampage! Ooh, didn't want to go for Decap. Nille is in beds right now.
Your word choice was perfect there, Middlecott. Didn't want to. He had every right to be able to do so. There's no way that level 8 Renata turns the 1v1 versus a Camille. But Nyla, in the 1 versus 2, able to make plays happen, and this is what we know him for. This is the Nyla from NLC that carried Verdant to playoff upsets versus Ruddy versus Nord and sent them to EMEA Masters play-ins. If there was any way that Verdant make their way to the main stage, it was through this top lane, and this is exactly what we've been waiting for from them this tournament.
And team changes from game 1 to game 2, right? We've seen more proactivity come out from Verdant. I think we've seen more proactivity come out from GK as well, right? But it's the team in green who are doing that a little bit better, who have more kills, who are even on objectives, aren't going to have a mountain soul hanging over them. They're in a very good spot.
And immediately, oh, Nille's strong? Huh, let's send 4 people to kill him. Like, you can see that GK, they've got this cognition where they think, okay, we need to do something about this Camille. But Verdant are also, you know, they're right there with it. Let's try and make that play around the top side, because they're quite happy to match anything in the top lane. As soon as you're fighting around this Camille, you're fighting around a strong point of Verdant. And with Kevo, you know, he's got the cleanse, doesn't have the teleport to get up to a team fight too quickly. But if Seraphine is nearby, she can call Encore down, and the way that the Encore works, of course, if we're unfamiliar, is it passes through targets and extends its range based on targets hit. Every single time it passes through a teammate or an enemy, it gets extended.
Well, I think you might be passing away, unfortunately. The Charm, he steals away the cease and desist. He's going to use it onto Kevo, but the Seraphine is going to get the kill instead. Now, I said that he was 0-1. He wasn't having a great time, but not the worst time. 0-3 now. It's becoming very, very difficult for you to actually interact in this game.
I mean, all of them. He's been solo, unfortunately. Yes, the 1v2 was simply an outplay, and we have to give full credit to Nella for that outplay. But there, he's stepping into a river where he doesn't have vision. Earlier on, also in a little bit of a sticky position where they were fighting in a 2 versus 4 that they had no real business trying to fight around that dragon. And with a Chemtech soul here, notoriously maybe the weakest soul that we have, but fortunately for Verdant, all 5 of their champions have got shields. Chemtech soul, for those unfamiliar, gives extra power to heals and shields, makes it, you know, quite a little more difficult to take down Verdant in this case. So those shields, whilst the impact may not be insane as a Hextech Soul would be, an Infernal Soul maybe, but the extra shielding is going to be something that Verdant are at the very least grateful for.
And now GK sort of are the shoes on the other foot. They're the team that are sort of like looking for a way to come back into this game. Yes, they are not that far down, but where do we think that comes from?
I mean, at this stage, it has to come from the Sartorius sort of buckling down and running through Erol, running through Nyla, and when you've got Rin with actually 2 items now, you can actually rely on this Varus as a sort of DPS source, but we highlighted this in draft. It's going to be difficult for Rin to do anything this game just by proxy of the Verdant champions.
Both teams are stood in mid lane. We've still got a few minutes until Dragon spawns. But I think the crucial thing is that Baron is available. Hugh stealing away the Seraphine now. He's able to get an encore onto Clyde. Kevo getting caught with the Glacial Prison. That's a huge hostile takeover from DCAT. And that is where GK can take over. Erol and Nilek still alive. But Taxa, Clyde off the board. GK, they find a fight in the mid lane, but still getting pushed around a little bit.
Importantly, the solo laners for Verdant never able to get access to that team fight. Look, Hextech Ultimatum still available. The Emperor's Divide still there for Erol as well. And Rin entirely during that team fight just separated himself nicely, got away from the Encore, and was free firing down onto those frontliners of Verdant. Clean little team fight there from GK. It doesn't net them too much, nets them a couple of kills, but it's a step in the right direction for the Arabian League representatives.
And it shows what their composition can do if Verdant ever find themselves stood in front of GK. Because you can throw out that Renal spot, you can throw out the Varus ult as well, and it's difficult for these champions to dive into you. I think if Verdant are going to want to win this game, which I imagine that they do, I think flank angles are going to become really important in these upcoming team fights.
That or synchronicity, and you know, if the two of them coalesce to form a team fight where they're synchronized and using flank angles, chef's kiss. It's going to look very good for the team in green. But that time, as we'd said, Verdant didn't have the way to get into that fight using Nyla, using Erol either, and we're getting to this point now where Erol going in may not necessarily be the best way to find success, but I'm always there for a Verdant. Oh, Erol engage. Gets caught by the slow.
Oh, it's going to turn around with the Encore. Rin with a very quick cleanse away, and he's going to be able to fire out some damage onto Taxa. Viking taken down by Clyde, but the Varus is free hitting. Nilek being jumped onto as well, and the Camille shut down by Giyu. This time it's Geekay who find the mid-game team fight.
And once again, Rin is just staying alive, permanently hitting, permanently dishing out damage where Verdant, they're lacking that source. Erol was using teleport to get into that fight. Didn't quite have the DPS that you would have wanted from your mid laner.
Ooh, Kevo still has that flash should he need it. A little bit of a 3v3 and Erol actually dealing a fair bit of damage on the Azir.
Only has a Liandry's finished and then sort of been window shopping for other bits and pieces, but still dishing out his fair share of damage as well. Level 14 on the Emperor. Which, highest level in the game right now, so has a lot of base stats to go alongside all of the damage from those items. Tier 1 turret going to be under threat, and it looks like he's going to put up a defense.
Oh, he's going to try and cease and desist. He's going to get jumped onto himself, though. Trade back of the ultimate, and the Silas really not enjoying it. Nilo, once again, with a very aggressive TP, will be forced to run back to his team, but the Encore onto 2 is absolutely perfect. A double kill for Erol, and Verdant continue the dive. Viking will be the lone survivor on the side of GK, but Baron, I don't think will be so lucky.
Beautiful stuff. Verdant, that's what we've been waiting for. The Encore finally on the timer where Rin doesn't have friends. He gets caught by it and falls down. The dive, the presence of mind from Verdant to spot a CC AD carry and isolate him. Target Rin immediately, and then the team fight falls apart for GK. It had been fight after fight through this mid-game that GK were just barely coming out on top of. Finally, though, we see Verdant combine as a 5-man unit, synchronize their engages, and come out on top.
And now you look at what the next sort of couple of minutes looks like for them. I think it's going to be very difficult to contest Nille in a side lane. I think it's going to be very difficult for you to punish Erol if he wants to get a little bit of a shove in a side lane too. Verdant have got this wonderful 3-person core in Taxa, in Kevo, in Clyde, so they can move around the map to wherever they need additional help. All
beautiful supportive champions now. Nyla, Sartorius has Ghost, but I don't know if that helps you. Clearly, again, I don't know. Just gets him out to safety.
Ragnarok
burned as well. So this Drake's going down. There's nothing to be said there. It is a tier 1 turret in the top lane for them, but more the Verdant. I think they can go for a bot lane tier 2 here. You can see Kevo being that supporting member down on that bot side, just shadowing Nyla in case anybody goes to collapse.
And I mean, you've got great tools to start the fights as well for Verdant. We saw them use them very nicely in that mid lane, and hey, they could look for dive under this tower. Only 3 members of Geekay defending, and Gyu still split pushing on the top side. He's going to be very close to taking that inner tower.
Yeah, but what else can Verdant get? Because you can see that in this mid lane, Erol putting down some damage on that tier 2 as well. They're going to need to answer this Silas. I mean, he's not taking the tier 2 yet, but he's proxy farming between the tier 3 as well. So it's 2 turrets traded so far. Remember, Verdant have got this Baron. If it comes down to a base race, it may well go their way. But finally, we see Gyu basing as Verdant are the ones that are playing chicken, and they're the ones that are winning.
Yeah, I mean, he did start the base, he did then interrupt it, and the price of that hesitation is going to be this bottom lane inhib tower. Now, Verdant are still pretty healthy for themselves, and they're all around the area, so they are going to be able to look a little bit further forward. Kevo's ult's going to get stolen by Gyu. That encore, hopefully, the GK fan's going to be used a little bit more effectively by the mid laner than it was in the last fight.
Difficult timing, though, for Verdant, because he also just showed on this mid wave. They can't really commit to this bot lane inhibitor. Going to need to wait for that bot wave to come through. As soon as this give and take, it's like just really tight margins that these teams are playing with. Hook shot is a really powerful cooldown, and Kevo's caught.
Oh, he was going to get an ult onto 2, and Kevo has been isolated. That stopwatch is going to buy him a modicum of time before Cly will drop as well. 2 kills for GK, and that is going to signal the end of the push for Verdant.
Timing not too great for GK. Yes, they stopped their inhibitor from falling, but there are no neutral objectives for them to take. This is just a good stop in the road for them. Great little engagement, really, from Viking, from Gyu, stepping forward, stealing away that encore, and then baiting in with the Everfrost as well. People are expecting to dodge one thing, you throw out a second skill shot just to catch them off guard.
Yeah, and it shows, right, that GK are absolutely still in this game and have a chance at coming back. Rin is on 3 items. One of them is Azonya's, which is always a bit weird and wacky, but that's Varus, that's what he builds. There's a chance that they can still take this game. They are in a rough spot, though, because 2.5 minutes through, dude, we've got a couple of objectives spawning.
And they're spawning within very close proximity to one another, so it is going to be that decision-making aspect of League of Legends that your shot callers have to step up for. And I want to quickly touch on this, Zonya's for Varus as well. You're quite right that this is like what Varus builds. You can get away with going for these hybrids, but it is the only item that saves you from Taxa Nyla Clyde. This is the single best tool that we could see Rin go for. Now, this is a double-edged sword. When your AD carry builds Zonya's, that means that that's 2.5 seconds where they're not dying. Great! It's also 2.5 seconds where they're not dealing damage. Something that you do have to, risk-reward as Rin in this game, and it's something that he's quite clearly, and I think quite rightly, identified as it's going to give more benefit than it will be negatives.
And you know what? I think a few minutes ago, having Rin as sort of this sole strong carry force for GK would have had me really worried. But Gyu has been able to pick up a few shutdowns in the last couple of minutes, and he actually got himself towards 3 items as well, ahead of Erol as it stands. And when those fights come in just over a minute, I think GK are going to be ready.
And I'm looking at the 3 items that we see for Gyu. They are the most damage items that you could go for outside of the Mythic, right? You've got Everfrost, which is, gives flat AP per legendary item given, but then you've got Shadow Flame, and you've got the Rabadon's Death Cap. And I'm looking at the magic resistance on Verdant's side, and there's a big Mia ping there for me, because there isn't any. We've got 2 sets of Merc Treads and a Locket. Great. But they're not keeping you safe from a Silas with all of this flat penetration and flat damage that we see built up.
Yeah, especially if he's able to find access onto Erol, onto Kevo. Those short trades the Silas can go for in the laning phase become a hell of a lot more brutal once we reach the 30-minute mark, as Verdant making their intentions very, very clear.
Flashes available for every single member that has taken the Summoner spell. Nyla just used TP to make sure that he's ready with the team to support their ventures into this bot side jungle. It was
very aggressive Taxa. He's going to go into a stopwatch of his own, and Verdant are going to go, hey, we need to take this fight! Flash out, and an interrupt on the dash back by Viking. Huge play from the GK teleport to take down Taxa, and he's going to be able to walk out alive. Geo with a big stolen encore, and the team from the Arabian League needs to make it happen. E-roll going into all of them in the Zonyas, buying time for himself, flashing back away. Kevo, Clyde getting away as well. It's so damn close! But it is going in favour of Verdant. Decap is going to be slowed. It's a double for E-roll, and somehow Verdant win the team fight.
That might not just be the team fight, Middlecut. That might well be the game. 40-second death timer on VU, 30 on the rest of Geekay. They've got a wave in bot lane. There's no turret here. There's 2 Nexus turrets and inhibitor, and the Nexus itself to go for. They've got 3 minions to work with in this wave, and a full wave coming through with this about 20-30 seconds out. I think it's Inhib and Soul for Verdant. It's a great one fight, but the power that Rin has is just too much for them to end.
Yeah, Viking is going to be returning to the Rift as well. So Verdant wisely taking what they could and backing away. And heck, getting a Chemtech Soul and an Inhib off of a team fight 30 minutes, and you're not going to be complaining too much.
Now these next team fights, though, these are the scary ones, because everybody had flash for that fight and the game didn't end. Nobody's got flash for this fight, and this could very well end the game. Those cooldowns, those skill shots are going to be pivotal in deciding who comes out on top. Look at Rin, though. We've been highlighting him this entire game because he's been the leading force behind GK during these team fights. Still has Stopwatch or Zhonya's available, and still has Cleanse. So there are a couple of tools still available for the Varus.
Yeah, and I mean, Vikings got a Knight's Vow as well. No, sir. Not going to give out any prizes for who that's going on. And we've got this Varus getting towards this hyper fed, but crucially, he's not been able to press onto that 4 item yet, and getting a little bit overextended on the side lane, forcing defensive ultimates from his teammate. That's a very offensive ultimate from Taxa, though, because you're a little bit isolated from the rest of your team, and without the stopwatch, you're just going to go down. It's happening again, Rude Dude.
1 3-man undertow from Sartorius just stops that in its tracks. The teleport as well from Giyu. Verdant, they overplay their hand. Taxa didn't have stopwatch to keep himself safe this time round, and he's just drifted the Baron over to GK. Verdant, they could look for a fight here. They've got the 4-5 capabilities, but they're looking for an inhibitor. There's no way they cannot end.
Yeah, E-roll has TP if he can join the fight. They are just going to be going to that inhibitor. Space is not really going to be interrupted too much, so I think it's just going to end up being a trade. Okay, Verdant just about going to be able to not quite take down the inhib. Nile!
No.
He's going to get hit by the undertow, but Sartorius is not able to chase him forward. That inhib is on single-digit HP, I swear.
Yeah, you're right. Now they're going to try and make a play for it. They know they've got this turret, and they need... I think Kevo goes up and hits this. Just spam your spells, and then use Kevo Auto to try and step up and hit this. This is all that we need from a Seraphine right now.
Just hit the inhib.
Go. It requires Cly and Nilla to try and step up, but they know that the threat is a little too high. Viking has got that ulti available. They wait for the wave. They're going for one more. Kevo can't be wasting autos like that. Okay.
Ooh, okay. Just about gets the inhib. I like how they were waiting until Taxa had joined up with them just to make sure that there was no chance of them getting caught out. But hey, a second inhibitor is going to feel great for Verdant, but GK with this Baron are going to be able to delay some of that push.
Yeah, I think that these are 2 neutralizing effects on one another. We're playing for this Elder Drake now. The inhibitors on one side, the Baron on the other. They cancel one another out. You can't push versus a Baron particularly easily, and you don't particularly push versus inhibs particularly easy. If it's one inhibitor, then it's very easy. You just go to that lane, Baron buff up your minions and take down the supers, but 2 makes that a lot more difficult. And you get to see now with 2 inhibs down, Nyla has the easiest game of his life. He goes to the lane where the inhib isn't down, and he tries to split push Prio over there. He does need to be careful because his team aren't anywhere on the map right now, and him staying out too long could cause him to be caught.
But one of the additional benefits of these inhibitor waves is that you need people to clear them. And so Verdant have got information. They know where Rin is. They know that Decap is probably alongside him as well. So you can start to be a little bit more aggressive with your pushes.
And inhibitors last longer than Baron buff as well. That mid inhib is going to be down for probably another 2 minutes before that Baron, or until that Baron wears off. Going to give them a lot of prio through that mid lane during this critical juncture about this Elder Drake spawn. It went to Verdant in game number 1, ended up not mattering for them, but I think that this game with slightly better scaling on the top side of the map in particular, I'd like to say that if the Elder goes their way this time, they're going to have a better chance at things.
And Rude Dude, we're once again about 35 minutes into the game, and in stark contrast to last time we are on the Rift, we are seeing a truly massive gold lead here, 700 in favor of GK. This game could be closer.
No, and we are getting into the late game stages now where Seraphine is pumping out Redemption on 15-second cooldown, unfortunately. It's, you know, even if it's 3 points or 5 points at this stage in the game, you are dealing a lot of damage between your spells, and then also healing a lot up with that double surround sound. If I see Kevo ever single W, that is the biggest troll thing that you can do on Seraphine, because the shield means nothing, but the heal means everything for this champion. So double W is incredible. You can see there, he just emboldens his team, 500 health immediately in temporary shields, and then the heal that would come from that if they had taken any damage, again, exceptional. This is Seraphine's time to shine.
Absolutely, and well, I think it's everyone on Verdant's time to shine, really, because they need to win this game, fundamentally, despite the lead that they have built, and despite how well they have turned around this series from game one. If their Nexus ends up blowing up at the end of this game, you're not going to care about any of that.
Everybody takes their final resets. Elder Drake spawns in 55 seconds. Vision control on the bot side in favor of Verdant. They've been able to use those two inhibitors exceptionally well, keeping the waves pushed and keeping that vision in GK's bot's side jungle. Now with everybody back out on the map, Void Staff finished for E-Roll. Kevo has got that blue potion to keep that Seraphine as powerful for this late game team fight as possible. GA finished for Nyla as well. Everything for Verdant hitting at just the right time. GK, they've got a mammoth task to stop this fight going away from them.
Victorious. Trying to find an angle, any angle, onto Verdant. Mid lane priority, name the game. And when you have got a wave of inhib minions, supers coming on through, it's a little bit easier to acquire, but of course 37 minutes in, everyone has got basically full inventories.
It's going to be another one of those fights, middle cart. Everyone's got flash.
Ooh, Sartorius is getting hooked fly. Bumped up a little bit by Viking. But getting a pick onto the OF, getting a pick onto the Nautilus. Not what these teams need right now. These big backline carries that need to be taken off the board. Viking is going to open up with the Glacial Prison onto Kevo, but it's not really too solid. There, the Vi diving onto DK, but Rin is on a rampage. He's been able to take down Nilla, and E-Roll hasn't been able to do damage either. It's a 1-for-1 so far as Sartorius is off the board, and Viking is so incredibly low. E-Roll, low himself, Rin! He's going to get a shuffle, but Rin will shut him down! And Taxa, the last one left for Verdant. The last one to fall for Verdant, a triple kill for Rin, and GK are going to claim the Elder.
He knew, he saw E-Roll in his eyes that he was going to go for that shuffle, flashes on top of the Seraphine, on top of the Azir, and destroys Verdant's chances. Elder Drake goes their way. It is not over yet, Middlecott. The Baron buff is going to spawn in 12 seconds. Verdant, they're going to have one last stand, but GK are going to go into this fight with absolutely everything in their back pocket. Two things that we need to look out for. Rin has no flash, E-Roll has his, and Clyde has his as well. The Nautilus engage still exists, but Rin is going into these team fights with 4,000 HP as a Varus. Huh?
That Bloodthirster shield is working overtime. And with this Elder buff, Rin is just going to be able to start up the Baron.
You can solo this, by the way.
Solo? Can he actually just solo this?
You can solo Baron as Caitlyn with 3 items. You can definitely do this as a Varus with 6. You know, Viking's going to be there to smite this, and even so, there's an Elder Drake fight. Verdant know that contesting this Baron is a death wish.
Yeah, but you know what? A little bit of the 200 IQ from Rin there. I want to be spending as much time on map with Elder and Baron if possible. You start up the Baron early, so you get those extra 5-10 seconds of buff timer when it comes to pushing towards Verdant's face. And I think that this inhib tower is going to fall pretty rapidly.
Yeah, the inhib as well.
Burst of the game, 39.5 minutes in. They've still got the Elder for just a little bit. They've still got the Baron for even longer than a little bit. They've got a pick onto Taxa, they've got a pick onto Cly as well. That Vi's not going to be long for the world. The Nautilus is going to be dead as well. And I think it may be curtains for Verdant. Nille shut down by Rin. It was close. It was so damn close. But Geekay proved that they're a little bit better. They take down Taxa. They take down E-Roll. They take down Kevo. They take the Nexus, and Arabian League is going to the EMEA Masters main event.
We have not